You're looking to cut to my ear. So what they're talking about? Coming on Black doing this thing.
Why you pick only the shit one? Pick the good one. Like me.
Content over everything!
Did you just say whatever he's done?
From I don't know how many layers, thousands of layers.
What that's showing him is his faith, as he understands it, will dictate his answer. So he might not.
It's not
know
me,
the
it's not no
answer there,
personal
is it?
opinion. I don't come and say,
So this is where you guys might differ because.
Because that's what he wants me to get personal opinions. That's why he asks me, do I like it?
Right.
But that's irrelevant. Even if I give you yes or no, it's irrelevant. It's not what I like. You know what I'm saying? You want my personal opinion. I can't give you that. If you're going to keep asking questions to personal opinions,
What if there's
you need to appeal to Islam, what Islam says.
what if there's a difference of opinion among the scholars? How would you decide between them?
That's another route you can take down.
But like,
That's another route I can go down.
Okay, so in general, like the Hanafi kind of jurists would say that the blood money should be equal between a Muslim and a non-Muslim, whereas the other three schools would say that the non-Muslim is worth half in terms of blood money than a Muslim.
So what is your contention? Because
Here's what
narrow it down.
you wanted to narrow it down. Just to make it make more sense for both of you, right? Maybe you should ask him why he cannot make a decision outside of what he believes his faith says. Because in that way you will have a further understanding of his psychology, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So why is that? That might make
Yeah.
So are you asking that question?
Yeah. Why is that?
Well, first of all, I'm a Muslim, and a Muslim generally means to submit. So as a Muslim,
now you submit to
Allah.
Yes, you gotta make that clear. You gotta make that clear because you weren't making that clear, right?
Okay, to Allah.
Yeah, there you go. Because that's confusion, right?
Now, some things are known, but anyway.
No, literally, that's what I'm trying to say about some people don't know that, right? So he's saying as a Muslim, his interpretation is submit to the will of Allah, right?
Yes.
So that means that if he doesn't do what he believes Allah wants from him, what's going to happen?
Pardon?
If you don't do what Allah wants you to do, what's going to happen?
I may be punished or I may be forgiven.
See? Now, who's the most powerful being in the universe according to you?
Powerful being?
Yeah, the powerful thing, powerful entity. What's the most
The
powerful?
one who controls everything.
Which is
Allah.
So can you see how the psychology works? So that's why your conversation will go on, because he honestly believes that if he goes against the will of his creator, he will be punished. So that means, for example, if Allah, this is a worst scenario, if Allah told you to kill yourself, what would you do?
Pardon?
If Allah told you to kill yourself, it's a what scenario, what would you do?
Come to kill myself.
Yeah, if Allah said...
I see that question, they're hypotheticals.
It's hypothetical.
Do you know why I like hypotheticals?
I'm
Because people watching this might say, oh, this guy, they have a concept or like there's preconceptions about killing and stuff. So I think like
no Muslim kills themselves. I'm not talking about suicide bombing.
No, that's what I'm saying. But
I'm talking about you know, like,
there's a big audience. You can give a better example.
Okay, let me give because I'm trying to do
if
very
Allah told you
dynamic.
to give charity, you want to give charity, yes. But you want to give kill.
Muslims give charity all the time. This is like a normal thing. So let's do something that's more dynamic. If you believe that Allah told you to eat pork, right? As in you particularly. So you wouldn't do it.
I don't do this because it's actually clashing against what's known.
Right, but what I'm saying is...
I can't give you, yes.
But what I'm saying is you have a preconceived concept of what the Quran tells you, right?
Yes.
And you understand that at any point, Allah can do what he wants, right?
Yes.
So if you believe that Allah told you to do something, and you believe it, I'm not saying it's right or
I'll
wrong,
do it.
you would do it,
Yes.
right? So that's why I'm giving you
I know, but
analogy
you're
of pork.
giving specific examples that contradict my faith.
No, but what I'm saying
You
is...
said it's hypothetical.
Yeah,
I know,
it's
but
a
I'm saying the
hypothetical.
audience, some people don't read between the lines. Wow, look at this guy,
And
the
this is what
Muslim.
we need to train
That's what I'm
these
saying.
people to read the...
And then bam, my face gets tagged, so I need to...
Yeah. First of all, we never want anyone to take you out of the room or do anything that might compromise your faith. That's wrong, right? What I'm saying is, you guys will never get to like part 2 of the conversation because I feel, maybe for you to him, you might not understand how he's processing.
My question is to him, why does he come to the park with all these Islamic texts?
Yeah, okay.
Deep Islamic texts, not just basic.
And that's
like
good
deep.
though. That's good though, right? That he's got deep Islamic
No,
text.
I don't know if it's good. I don't want to know what his reason is.
Oh, so and your answer to him was?
It may be good in the context.
Can't remember what my answer. It was something like kind of I thought because like the laws, the fiqh, the actual Islamic laws, kind of they actually have an effect on people's lives.
And I was asking him how.
Yeah, and then I gave an example of kind of divorce laws in Islam, and also I gave an example from kind of qisas, like an eye for an eye, and gave an example of like Muhammad being reported to have said like don't greet non-Muslims when they approach you unless they greet you first, and force them to the narrowest part of the road. So those are some examples.
What does that mean again? I don't know. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means like if you're walking down the street and like kind of a Jew comes up to you or like a Christian comes up to you, like you aren't meant to say like, oh, hey. You're meant to wait for them to say hey to you, and only then should you say hey. Not like if it was a Muslim, then you could just say hey to someone as soon as you want.
But you know why that is? Because that's a very particular thing. There must be a motivation. There must be a logic behind that practice, right? Now, I'm not gonna play angel's advocate.
That hadith, I don't.
I might not.
There's an explanation to it.
Yeah, and that's
like
important, right?
It's referring to giving salams.
Why don't we ask? Why do you think they say that? From your understanding, that might be more interesting, right?
Well, like it's something that Muhammad's reported to have said. I don't know of him giving any other kind of comment, like any other explanation, like, oh, and the reason why you should do this is this. It seems to me like he just kind of gave this advice.
Here's why. Now, I'm going to play angel's advocate, right? On the side of the Islamic faith. Let's just say that when they were writing the hadiths, they realized that Muslims were being persecuted, right? And people distrust Muslims, right? So he was saying that in order to make sure you know that someone's more genuine, rather than walk up and say hi to everyone who you don't know, wait for them to make the effort to you, and that way you can confirm that these people are more kind-natured because they've gone out their way to say hi to you, rather than you should go your way to be hi to them, except for they're Muslim, because if you know they're Muslim, you know you correlate on the same kind of ideas and being peaceful. Now I'm being angel's advocate.
Yeah, like unless you have like sort of some evidence for that being the case.
Well, that's why when you're experiencing, it's very good to actually like study like the context of why something is done. Yeah? And I think that, but then once again, you guys are really operating on a completely different stuff because you can change your mind. You can't, because he's got the preconceived concepts, right? That he's
Change my mind or what though?
Well,
you have to break that down.
Meaning that once you're,
I can change my mind. I might not like butter. I might like jam.
But then I don't think like and butter might contradict your beliefs.
Oh, so you're talking about beliefs?
Yeah, that's what we're talking ultimately.
You have to explain yourself, innit?
No, this is correct. Yeah. So I think with him, so for example, like, you could actually become a Muslim, right? Like there is a so in the psychology we are today, you could become a Muslim. But I suspect in the psychology you are today, you couldn't become a Jew. You see, so it's different psychology, and understand that. Then you can cater your questions more to get a fruitful conversation.
Okay, there are other Muslims who kind of aren't of that opinion though. Like because I was giving him alternatives from different sort of schools of thought.
Oh, yeah.
So I was kind of like giving him some leeway within kind of Muslim orthodoxy. But
every person is different, but when I speak to people, you look at how they present themselves, look at how they answer the question. So there could be a Muslim who say, yeah, if something is the truth, I follow the truth, and for me, Islam is the truth. So if Judaism was the truth, I'll be the truth.
Yeah.
But some people, because of how they sit in their community, by just saying that, they feel they might be compromising something, so they go, no, Islam.
No.
I'm not saying that's
That example you just gave, that means that person's religion is based on doubt.
Okay, see what he said? Do you hear what you said? You see, so can you see how the psychology works?
But if there's no doubt, how can you change?
No, so when you're dealing with information, it's like this. It's like you, as a person, you might want someone to believe you are following the truth, right? And the truth, as you perceive it, is Islam, right? So you're saying because I follow the truth, I believe it is Islam. However, if the truth was Christianity, I'll follow it. It just so happens that the truth is Islam. You see? Yeah. And so if someone says you're a Christian, you go, yes, if Christianity was the truth, I'll follow it. But you would have to present information to demonstrate that it's the truth. But you wouldn't be like,
I'm saying that if doesn't even come to the question when we've already established.
No, but what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but
you like give hypotheticals, but hypotheticals doesn't change the reality. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's why we have
if this and if that, but there's a reality as well.
Yes, but what I'm saying, these are
if this is a football, I can kick this.
Yes.
But is it a football?
This is not football at the moment.
And it will never be a football, innit?
But you can
so that if is irrelevant.
No, but you can explore the relevant logic using hypotheticals. You can see how the situation would play out. But
no, you can't see, because this can never be a football. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
If this is a football, I can do kick-ups.
Right.
But this could never be a football.
Well, but it could be something you kick though, and it could be something you use as a football, right? As in, like, in the West Indies, they would basically get rubber bands tied together and bags and make a football. But we know that, you know what, right? Yeah, but you know that footballs are not made out of rubber bands and plastic bags.
What we know as a football, this is not football.
No, that's
what I'm saying. So that if in some situation, I know you've been saying some theories it works out, but when I'm saying my religion is not based upon doubt, that's what I mean.
Oh, no, of course, yeah. You have accepted.
But if there's doubt, that means someone will say, I don't know, maybe there is not a God. One day, if the evidence could be brought to me, that's someone based upon doubt.
No, it depends how they present the information. If someone says, I follow the truth, and if you can prove to me that what you're saying is true, then I'll do it. But so far, as I understand it, this whatever religion they are is true. You see? Because is what you subscribe to is a belief.
Pardon?
Is it a belief?
Belief based on evidence.
You believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if something's a belief, then that means, at some point you are sustaining. What's the word? Give me the word.
Sustaining.
What is it that you do? Because you believe something, right? Like you don't know something. You believe. What's the word? Come on.
Faith or.
Yeah, it was faith, right?
Yeah.
So we understand that faith comes from belief.
No.
Oh, it's trust. It's trust, right? Belief can mean like trusting in something.
Yeah, trust is something, right? But it's like. The evidence that you have to have your faith is different from the evidence you have of knowing that a phone is a phone, right? It's a different thing. Because right now, every human, apart from ones who might suffer from issues, like psychological issues, accept the reality of the phone, right? As in, they see it working and they go, okay, it works, and they can say this is a phone. But that's a very different acceptance of a religion. With religion, you have to go, the text I'm reading, I believe this happened, and because I believe that happened, I'm going to follow this way of life.
No, but I'm saying there's empirical evidence, things that you can actually see as well that say it points to why this religion is true or why this religion is false.
Yeah, but you could.
It's not just I wake up one day and say,
of course not. I would never say you do that. But the same evidence you bring forward, other people bring forward. And the only difference is they have different faiths, right? It's like goes, I believe this information is equated to my faith. So someone might say, I see a tree, and they go, that means that was made by a god. Let's just say that they say that, right? Yeah. And then someone goes, yes, that god, his name is Imran. I go, no, his name is, or her name is.
But the foundation has been established. They're just arguing over what the name is. But they all say it's a god who made it.
But then you might get some people go, well, actually, it was a collaboration of gods, and those gods are called this or whatever, right? And then you go, whoa.
But that's what I'm saying. But the argument's still made. Something created a tree. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the logic. That's the logic I follow.
Yeah, I understand.
It's either was here, created, or was uncreated. Earth. And you take two positions.
What does uncreated mean? What does that mean?
Pardon?
How is something uncreated?
It's either was created or uncreated.
What does that mean to you?
It's always existed. So no one ever created it.
Infinity, or whatever.
Okay.
And then you work from there. So it's not based upon just faith.
Right.
It's a.
It is still based on faith because it's like we are putting data in place. So we say that because the tree is there, it has to be made, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it does. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, we still don't actually see the path of when it was made. So we are still, faith that it was made. Even though it might look logical, we weren't necessarily there to see when the first tree was made.
What's the most logical route to take?
Well, this is the thing. That's why there's so many different people who bring evidence. I really don't know. I'm one of the few people who actually I don't mind not knowing.
Like I know in your case, the Quran doesn't say kind of it says that believers should have belief. It talks about belief. It doesn't say know for certain. The Quran doesn't say. Where does it say like know for certain?
I'll pull up the verse, but it does say that.
Okay, I'm familiar with.
That's actually a part.
So
I'm
familiar.
That's actually a part of the testification of the Shahada. Yaqeen, certainty.
Okay.
So Muslim, if he doesn't come with this, then.
But we go because you were interested in why he had so much documents about Islam. Is that correct?
Yeah, because documents about he was going into different branches of the Islamic sciences, but not even actually the foundation.
And your interest in Islam is because it affects people here. Is that, just in general?
Yeah, it can affect people's lives.
No, in positive and negative.
I don't mind if it's a positive impact, but so I care more about when it's a negative impact.
And what's the most negative thing that you've identified in this conversation?
Well, within this conversation, I think it's bad that you kind of think that non-Muslims are of inferior value to Muslims, and I think it's bad that you agree, for example, that. I think it's bad that you in the sense I gave you the example of qisas not apply eye for an eye retribution not applying to a non-Muslim, such as if a non-Muslim was killed, then the Muslim won't be killed.
You said there was difference of opinion.
Didn't you defend it?
No, I don't even need to subscribe to any of the opinions. You said there's a difference of opinion. One school says this, and one says that. So one school says it should be fair. So even if I said I subscribe to that one, that means you're debunked. Your argument's debunked.
No, but I'm trying to
if I say I subscribe to the one that says
Hanafi,
fair,
yes.
that means what argument you've got against me?
Well, like it wouldn't be about you anymore. But you've already said that you
appealing to
agree.
my personal opinions.
I've shown you the actual book that it's taken from, and you said, yeah, this sounds okay.
But I'm saying
so
you're appealing
why now you're giving us hypotheticals.
No, but
Which one do you actually believe
I'm saying
in?
you're appealing to my personal opinion, but I'm saying deal with Islam. Don't deal with me as a Muslim.
Okay.
You might say Muslim drinking and say, oh, this don't mean nothing. Deal with what the evidence says.
Okay. Well, I know. No, never mind then.
That's what I said. Stick to the foundations.
Okay, there's one more.
Stick to the foundations.
Okay,
you're going to branches.
Okay, there's one more like a productive thing that we could talk about, which is are things good? Yeah, because like as soon as God says that they're good, they automatically become good because God is capable of just choosing things to be good whenever He wishes, or is it that God orders things because they're good anyway, and He can't sort of control what is good or not?
Well, first of all, I don't know who you're referring to as God, but
well, like you're Allah.
Well, Allah, yeah. Well, people say God, but they're not talking about Allah. So
okay, Allah.
I'm talking about
case.
Allah, the Creator.
Yeah, the creator of the universe. Yeah.
So say that again now.
So, are things good? Like because Allah orders them to be, in that as soon as Allah orders something, it becomes good automatically, just because that's what He wishes? Or does Allah order things because those things are good, and Allah can't just sort of arbitrarily change what's good or what's evil as He wishes?
Well, I don't know the intention behind what Allah does, but Allah says He does what He wills. So if He wills to do something, I don't know why He wills to do something. You see earthquake happen, I don't know why He does that, but that's His wisdom. But I just think He does what He does.
So do you think if Allah kind of descended and like told people from now on, I want you, I think it's good to torture 100 babies a year.
Here you go with the hypotheticals.
No, but we can explore. But this is to show you the impacts of what we're talking about. Because if you believe that as soon as Allah says something is good, it automatically becomes good, then you would think that once Allah says, it's okay to torture babies, you think, that's okay.
That have never happened. Give examples of stuff that Allah has said.
Okay.
And that is good.
Okay. So
let's deal with something that's established.
Well, there was in the Bible where
that's gone somewhere else. Well, straight away, you've gone somewhere else.
No, but you do believe that all the books are connected?
No, you've gone somewhere else. That's another. We're not going to go on that topic.
Okay, fair.
But you've gone somewhere else.
It was similar.
So if you bring something from the Quran what says Allah has said this is good,
no, but I don't,
that's a better example rather than saying
the thing is, I don't actually need to bring hypotheticals in order to pose this question about how goodness operates. Like I've asked you, is it the case that Allah can make anything good as long as He orders it, or is it the case that whatever Allah orders, like Allah orders the good things because they're good, and He can't just decide what's good or what's not according to His wishes?
I already told you, Allah does what He wills.
I don't know the
intention behind it.
No, but are you saying that in that case Allah can make things good as He wishes?
If you wanted to.
Yeah, so in that case you're agreeing that Allah could kind of descend tomorrow and say, like, I want you to torture some babies, and then that would become good.
No, but see, there's principles we go by. Allah doesn't oppress the people. So what you just said is an oppressive thing.
Okay.
So that's not from Islam.
Okay. So now it sounds
it goes against the original word of Allah.
What?
It goes against the original word of Allah that you would know.
Okay.
No, he's giving an example.
So can Allah change His mind?
These questions These questions you can't get an answer from me because I don't even know the logic behind it. Can Allah change His mind?
Well, like, do you know what you've heard of abrogation, haven't you?
Yeah.
So Allah can substitute something with something better, so He can change His mind.
Now you've changed.
No. Abrogation's an example of Allah changing His mind, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Why not? Because, like, for example,
one thing from one time, and then something from the next time.
No, so initially, like, kind of, Allah said, kind of, don't get drunk, don't go to pray while drunk. Yeah. Okay. Then later He said, don't drink alcohol at all. Okay. So that's a difference from then to now.
That's a good point. That might be a good point where you phrased it.
That's not a good point because He said we're talking about good and bad.
No, I think he's talking about changing rules, like really tightening up.
If Allah wants to change rule, He can.
So, then you're agreeing that Allah could in the future.
No, I'm not agreeing with that.
Why couldn't He in the future
because
declare
I'm saying
that?
there's principles we live by. You've brought an oppressive thing.
Okay.
Changing from drunkenness to not drunk is not oppressive.
Okay, you've answered it then. Because if Allah can't be oppressive, then that must mean that there's an idea. Then that must mean that there is an idea of oppression which exists outside of, or independently, or before Allah. It's not as if Allah, because like before, it sounded like you could say, like you were saying, as soon as Allah wills something, it's good. Okay, as soon as Allah orders something, it's good. But if in fact, kind of, Allah can't order something oppressive, then that means that there's
It doesn't do oppression.
Okay, I'm probably not explaining myself clearly. Well, I know. But basically, you need to kind of read, you need to read Yerivmo's dilemma. Basically, it's kind of asking, does God order things that are good, or is it the case that whatever God orders becomes good automatically? That's the question that I think is important, because
Do you believe in good and bad?
Yeah, I believe in good and bad.
How do you establish what's good and bad?
Like I use moral principles, like treat others the way that you would like to be treated. I think fairness is better than lies.
Emmanuel Kant.
Just like these moral principles, like try and increase happiness, try and reduce suffering.
Treat others how you want to be treated.
Treat
So
others.
if I'm a bad person, I want to be treated bad. Should I treat others bad?
Yeah, so like that would be like sort of pathological. So
No, wait. If I'm a bad person,
bad people. Yeah, so
and
that
I would
might
like
be
to
like
be
a
murdered,
masochist.
can I murder people?
That would be bad, because that
But
would
your principle is treat as you want to be treated.
No, but like there's also the principle like reduce human suffering, reduce human
Why?
harm.
Why reduce human suffering? Why?
Well, like because
It might be good to me. It might be good for me.
Okay, and so the question you should ask me is like, what do I think are the source of those moral principles? And on the question to that, I'd say I don't know. Maybe
don't know.
Maybe God put.
So me asking questions on good and bad is irrelevant for you.
And there are two possibilities. Either there is a God and He puts these moral principles in my heart, or kind of maybe like there is no God and people just evolved these behaviours out of human nature. So.
And what's your one?
I'm not sure. I don't think there's enough evidence to conclude whether kind of God exists or God doesn't exist.
So that means there's no good or bad then?
No, it doesn't mean that.
So establish good and bad for me. Because you're asking me, does Allah do good, but you don't even know what good is.
So let me show you. Like, if you think that there can't be any good and bad without God, then we can show that this thinking is fallacious by asking. Let's say God descended tomorrow. Let's say, and then He said, kind of, I no longer attach any moral significance to the actions of human beings. Okay, if that happened, would you suddenly think, oh, it's okay to murder now, it's okay to steal now? I'd submit no, because there is good and evil independently of whatever God says or whether He exists.
Can you prove that good and evil? That's what we're
well,
trying to establish.
I think that thought experiment kind of shows it.
That's just a thought.
Okay, no.
I'm talking about the reality.
Okay.
You said good and bad.
Yeah.
You're talking about physical things, good and bad.
Okay. Well, like
I'm talking about you're bringing theories. I'm talking about what's good and bad right now.
Well, I
if I slap you right now, is that good?
No.
But it feels good for me though.
Well, like you should.
And I'm treating you how I want to be treated.
You want to be slapped?
What if I want to be slapped? Or someone wants to be slapped?
Do you really?
So now you lot are thinking that preconception that we have to feel like you're thinking.
Do you think that
if I want to be punched in the face?
No, I do believe that.
There's people that actually want to be punched in the face. Should I punch him in the face?
Yeah, well, I don't subscribe to good and bad concept. So
that's what I'm saying. No, I'm just trying to show that where his flaws are coming from.
No, but
he asked me,
saying that there's also a
what does Allah,
of
how does Allah decree good? But he doesn't even know what good is.
No,
so me answering that is just irrelevant because you don't even know what good is.
No, of course I do.
They're bringing theories. If God came down and took away all morality, what would you do then?
Yeah, you should have a think about that. That's an important question.
No, it's not about thinking about that. I can think about that.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with right now. What's happening right now? What is good right now? Before that theory came to head, what's good right now?
I think what he's asking is if a deity came down and a fish...
No, but I'm saying...
Hold on, let me finish.
I know what he's saying.
And he said, okay, you can do all the things before, the rules are now gone. However you live, however you live. Yeah. Would you, say, attack and harm people? Or would you feel that is a wrong thing to do, so you wouldn't do it? I guess somewhere along the line he's trying to get there.
How would I know?
Well, for me personally, these are interesting conversations.
It is interesting. I understand what you're saying.
You might not be compatible with his way of thinking.
He's coming from a place where he's answering a question that he's based his.
I feel you have a fear, and in the sense of you've expressed this like you don't want to be marginalised from the group you're from, and you don't want to see like you're putting your own opinion in textual historical. That makes sense, right? Because you will be shunned.
Fear
right?
from what?
Well, a fear from your community, a fear from the higher powers, right? If you are inaccurate,
no,
right?
not necessarily.
You're not scared of higher powers?
Higher powers.
Yeah, like Allah.
You don't use these
And
languages.
do you not fear Allah?
Yeah, I do.
Well, so
Inshallah, I do.
there you go, right? So obviously, if you misrepresent Allah, that's a fearful thing to be participating,
No
right?
doubt about it. Allah says don't speak about him without not knowing.
There you go. So you have to understand who you're talking to.
Okay.
No, but that's not his question though.
Well,
His question, he's trying to give a question, trying to prove something, but in there is a fallacy. He's saying, does Allah decree good? But he can't establish what good is.
Good is, yeah,
so
that's
me
the point.
answering that is a whole different
But can't-
topic.
yeah,
I think
Just go to the dictionary and find out what good
for him,
is.
for him to prove what good is,
No, can't we agree on whether a particular thing is good? Okay.
Agreed.
So we could I could present a particular thing like giving money to orphans.
Yeah.
I could present this, and you could ask me, do I think that's good? And I'd say yes, and I'd ask you. And
That's bad.
Boy,
it
the
could be
wind
good.
there, tease. Anyway,
so say he said it's bad, he said it's good. Where do you stand with that one?
well,
We've been blowing the camera down.
yeah,
bad because it costs money.
yeah.
Which one?
Bad.
It's not necessary. It could necessarily
Maybe
it could be good.
Maybe the light matter blinding one of your eyes.
To be honest,
What do you think? Was it good or bad?
What?
Was it good or bad?
Did you say you don't even say
Huh?
whether it's a good or bad?
You know what you should say?
No, not really.
Allahu
So
Alam.
how do you explain the differences between the two as to what we're discussing?
It's down to opinions and who dominates, really, isn't it? If I'm in a
God
situation,
knows
What,
best.
like wrong or
Yeah,
right?
God knows best.
well, like I
Man
said,
shaking his head like
it
a
comes
something
down
wrong.
to the society. If I'm praising the society and they tell me that giving you money is good,
Oh yeah.
then I will
The
subscribe to that.
example I use is if you drive on the left-hand side of the road here, you're going to be fine. If you drive on the left in like America, you're going to kill someone.
Right, there you go. So yeah, so it's just,
But there's still like the inherent good and bad. Like we're saying, like killing babies is bad. Like,
I agree. I would say
no
yes,
society
but
that could convince
you're saying
me
it's
otherwise.
bad, but I'm saying if you speak to the people, like certain philosophers and atheists, no, they will say, prove to them that's bad.
So what is there's religious people, right? Historically, and they believe that if you sacrifice a baby, everyone else could actually have rain and so forth, right? And this is a greater good, meaning that by sacrificing one baby, you save 1 million men.
like they give the example, if you see
presentation you did a while
Kill
ago.
one to save
12,
many.
if you see 12 children, if you see 12 children in the train track, and an old man on the other side of the train track, and the train's coming for the 12 children, what would you do?
Yeah, I know.
No, what would you do?
I was talking to this guy
In
earlier.
this
and I was
instance,
talking to him like about.
It would probably be.
He said, "Oh yeah, I'm a Salafi."
You know what I'm saying? Is that a good decision? Killing the other man,
So
killing the old man.
Kill the old man of the
understand your
children.
point.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like powers above us determine what is good and bad.
So one way, someone's gonna die, but one of them has to be good, according to your logic.
Well, not everything has to have a good and bad outcome.
Right.
Like, it could be double good, double bad.
Bunch, right?
It could be double good, double bad, right?
the
But
least bad.
I'm more interested in the psychology. Like for you, I feel that
Yeah.
with this gentleman, I don't think he's going to get the kind of answers he wants because you obviously have like a buffer to make sure you never step outside of offending communities and stuff. I get that, right?
offending communities.
Well, yeah, you do. You said yourself.
I
You
was
said you don't want to come
appealing to his
across.
logic.
No, but you said you don't want to come and represent like your
Obviously, I can't speak without knowledge, but what he gave example,
Champions here.
his example was just good and bad. You know what I'm saying?
Good. I'll shake you off camera.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
well-
that was the next one anyway. He's gone. Though, so.
oh, he's gone. It's good. Oh, James, are you finished then? Yeah. Is he gone? You gave up?
James, you finished.
Tap out.
Good and bad.
You can't get nowhere
Yeah,
now.
I'm defeated. Yeah, I'm defeated. I'll be his best.
Right, well, I have to go. But I mean, is there any community groups that don't mind? Like, so what is interesting is because you submit to a certain idea, a higher force, you definitely you said that you all your personal thoughts are irrelevant. Don't you? That's what you said.
In the question he was asking.
Yeah. So you were
I
saying
give
that.
my personal opinion on other things.
Oh, but those.
Yeah, but what he was specifically asking, it's irrelevant what I say.
Okay, why would you?
Because then he's trying to form the opinion for the people so they can say, oh yeah,
What do you
such
think
and such and
James
such
is
and
trying to do? What do you think he's trying to do?
I don't know what he's trying to do. You have to ask him.
But these are
If I think what he's trying to do,
bro, these are the questions I
he's
will be
bringing
asking.
examples
But these are
from
the questions I
book
will be
saying
asking.
such and such and such.
Because you were somewhat aware that he has these, what you're saying, deep Islamic.
It's not the first time I
scripts,
spoke to him.
right? I know, and when
So I need to just let you establish. It's not the,
yeah. What I'm saying is, because your questions keep going in circles. I will ask, like, is there a particular agenda you're trying to show me? Because
a particular agenda.
well, there's obviously some kind of lesson that is to be learned from the conversation. I'm assuming, right? So you could ask, like, what is it you're trying to teach me? But because you're never getting past step one, it's like no one knows what we're talking about. We're going in circles. And then once he tells you, oh, and then you can come up with, oh, in that case, I'll tell you this. Then, isn't it? know what I mean? So that's what I'm asking. Like,
Maybe it's strategic, though, isn't it?
So
maybe he's trying to lead them down a path.
So let's.
And he's clocked it.
But here's the thing.
Let's cut the BS and
I know he's
say,
okay.
go
I'll
straight to the point.
He was trying to make it sound like I could have asked him like Islam is one thing, and the human rights or democracy or something is another thing, and he's trying to show that Islam is not fair and just.
Is that what you're trying to get across?
No, not quite. Like,
what's going on?
So
Sharia, because that's what he said. Sharia as well.
You came up to me, right, first, and the first thing you asked is why do you have these printouts from fiqh books?
Yeah.
From what books?
Books of Islamic law.
Yeah.
And so I gave the answer that because I think that Islamic law has an actual effect on people's lives. Yeah. So that, and I know I want to sort of. If I find like unfair or unjust things in Islamic law, then I want to kind of show them to be unfair and unjust, and hopefully persuade other people.
How do you feel about him saying that he believes that some of these Islamic law that he sees is unfair and unjust? How do you feel about it?
Can you share some examples?
Yes, his opinion.
Right.
Yes, his opinion. What can I do?
What are you using to construct that? If you,
Sharia law.
for example, you have the human rights concept. The human rights concept.
We need you to get this mic over there, to be honest with you.
Come on, man. Come and see
raises a multitude of narratives, questions, and also problems. But for me, it's also a bundle of contradictions. So if you are going to be assessing what's good and what's bad, for example, the Mongolian Behaviour dictates that their deceased, for example, once they die, they're thrown outside and the animals sort of eat them, deflower them and churn them in their stomachs, and then they turn them into shite, into swiping, in the steppe. So who defines and imposes that? How are you able to determine what's good in one particular culture or even in one religion? For example, in Islam, how would you define what's good? What are your bases for that? How would you be able to see what's good? For morality is a construct, depending on what society you come in. So morality, for example, in the Mongolian sense, or in the African context, it's completely different to the morality in a Western society. So my question is, how would you define what is good in an Islamic sense in regards to justice, for example?
Okay. Yeah. So I don't think that I don't think sort of like if a society kind of agrees that it's okay to, like, for example, torture a baby, like, I'd say it doesn't matter if the society has agreed upon that. I'd say that that's bad because, like, I think there are these moral principles like treat others the way you would like to be treated, minimize human suffering, think there are these certain like kind of moral principles that I think are more true and more universal and more benevolent and that sort of thing. And so I take my morals from those kind of principles. And when I see that them being violated, like if it's Sharia law that's violating them, or if it's kind of Jewish law that's violating them, or kind of secular law that's violating them, I'd say no, that law is wrong.
So let me ask you a question. If, for example, Jewish, they want to circumcise their children, what's your position on that?
I think...
or Muslims, for that sense.
Yeah.
So according to your logic, human rights, that child should not be altered, right? And to some, well, like, so I think that's that's kind of it's an issue where there are some things that are good about it and some things that are bad about it. You could say that it's good for society because it makes it harder to transmit STDs, and so kind of if you circumcise everyone. What I'm saying is, like, so one principle could be that consent, like for certain things you should require consent, like bodily procedures, cutting things off, and so but at the same time, like, there's this other principle that it's good to minimize human suffering. Yeah. So I'm not. So I think a reasonable person could make the case that it's better for society to. So is it ethically and morally justifiable to alter a child's genitals in line with their culture and religion? religious rights.
Possibly. I don't think that's a question with an easy answer. Sometimes a moral question won't have an easy answer,
Come out
but
the
I think
comment
other
section
times a
and
moral
turn
question
up
will have an
So
easy
that goes
answer.
back to morality.
We
Who
got the fire
defines what's
lane.
good?
We got the real one.
It's a social construct.
I
So morality,
don't think so.
it is.
But what if
What in the pot?
I presume you're Caucasian, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
From your Western liberal values, what you determine good differs to what another person defines as good.
Okay.
That is Islam.
Do you think morality is just something that people have made up and it's just arbitrary, whatever a group of people decides amongst themselves?
For me, for example, the issue of genital autonomy of children, I agree with you. When it comes, I think it's ethically and morally wrong to alter any child's genitals. I think we should not favour certain cultures, we should not favour certain religions, and we certainly should not be favouring certain politics. So morality for me there is immoral.
Okay, so you just hold this moral principle of like bodily autonomy and consent to be higher, perhaps, instead than minimizing human suffering.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about defects, certain defects, there's certain times it's necessary if it's to save that child's right. But when it comes to such a myth, we can dispel those myths that the child has to be circumcised or to curb STD in the future sense.
Yeah.
Those things could be deferred.
Yeah, I think that there are certain moral questions which, like maybe we aren't able to kind of fully be certain about what is correct, and so reasonable people who are both of good character might disagree and say, I'm going to favour this moral principle, or I'm going to favour this moral principle, like I'm going to favour fairness over reducing suffering, or I'm going to favour reducing suffering over fairness. But I think if we agree on like kind of these kind of moral principles, if we agree that here's some, let's see if you agree with this. If we identify a set of like clearly good moral principles, then we could agree that none of these principles should be violated for no good reason, and the only good reason for violating a moral principle would be for seeking kind of to benefit another of these moral principles. So the only good reason to violate not reducing human suffering would be in order to preserve bodily autonomy. So in this kind of framework, we could say that anything that contradicts one of these sort of fundamental moral principles for no other reason would be bad.
So should we then, in that essence, be substituting the term morality to universality? What's universal rights, universal goodness, and universal wrongs? Rather than putting this morality, because for me morality, what's morally wrong here, it's morally right in another.
Okay. Yeah, because are you saying so morality has that kind of etymological root of okay, fine.
So not only that, it's in essence we are able as a society to make judgment. This is why you get a lot of cultural relativists, and certain cultural anthropologists saying, you know what, we should not be interfering with other people's cultural practices, cultural people's rituals. This is the issue, because we haven't been able to construct terminologies to actually say, you and I, what we agree with, which are universal human goodness, universal good, universal things that we all agree are not good.
Okay,
for the best interest, not only for the rest of society in itself, for the best interest of that society. So these perhaps is a different word we should be using rather than say morality. Morality is
that's reasonable. I use morality because people kind of understand it in like kind of. I think lots of people just understand morality as right and wrong, kind of independent of culture.
Universal goodness. I think that's the term.
Yeah, but that sounds sensible and good.
Much more, because when you use the term, it's sort of judgmental at the same time. Because when you come with the morality, who's defining what's morally acceptable in this?
I mean, we're kind of just kicking the ball one step further back, because then someone could ask us, well, who are you to define what is in this set of universal goods?
Exactly. So these are the conversations I think we should all be interested in having. having. Because these are the conversations, rather than constantly having conversations about this religion and this religion, these are the conversations we should all be interested in, because it makes much more sense. Because if we dissect, for example, the human rights discourse or the human rights, script itself, or other issues within societies, it comes under the umbrella what's morally good, what's morally unacceptable. And put religions in each category. Say, okay, in this religion, it's morally acceptable to do this, or it's ethically, or it's universally.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting points. Yeah.
It is. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I think I'm the only woman who's participating.
That's beautiful. We love it.
I think I'm the only woman.
Yeah, maybe right now.
Keep doing it and encourage more.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not here, but I'm always watching this video.
Okay. We look forward to seeing you more.
I'm watching this video because look, this is interesting. There needs to be more of a representation of women, and also children, hear their thoughts. It's very interesting. But women need to be more present. Say, you know what? We also participate in these kind of discourses. That's how we make social changes.
Definitely.
How we interact with each other.
would be good.
I've seen a lot of YouTube videos. It's mostly one faith group against another, and these interfaith arguments. So Muslims within sects, Shias and Sunnis are fighting amongst themselves. I want to see Jews here. I want to see Hinduism. I want to see, other sects.
I feel like kind of enforcing kind of your belief is more of a monotheistic thing than a polytheistic thing. I think polytheistic cultures kind of just accept these groups have a different set of gods and that's fine. Whereas monotheism, no, it's about which is the correct god.
It's interesting. It's interesting to listen to them and say, what's your, some of us have read a bit of Hinduism. I don't understand the concepts, what you believe in. I think it would be interesting. So, why do you believe that? So those are the dialogues that we should be having, rather than fighting amongst each other, Muslims and also talk about other issues, societal issues, morality, like we're discussing, drinking, societal issues, drinks, drinking, and social, and youth, all these.
Okay, what do you think should be done about drinking?
In the 90s when we came here as refugees, alcohol consumption was limited to groups. And alcohol wasn't as, openly visible as it is now. And there's the privatization, obviously, now supermarkets, incentivized to sell alcohol, the government is getting a bit of that bit of money. It's problematic. And we see this in A&Es, young men and young women in their 20s presenting in A&E clinics with liver damage and a lot of damage to their bodies. So I think the government and nation states, I think they need to analyze what they're seeing within their society, because it's essentially destroying the society. Not only children, not only families. In essence, we are destroying society. The institution creates the family.
Do you think sort of measures that would kind of get in the way of it, like making it less visible, they're the way forward rather than sort of just banning it or making it illegal entirely?
I think you can't tell an adult what they can't consume or not. They exercise and that's their choice. Whether an adult makes that informed choice, that's their decision. But I think we as human beings, when you're told not to have something, you also go. We're very stubborn creatures who go and buy whatever it is. But I think the visibility is my way of doing it.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's reasonable.
Because it's available. It's right there. And I think there's a lot of dialogue going on about sugar being down because it's right in children's faces. And a lot of parents are raising issues that chocolates are being advertised. I think we need to do something about that in alcohol, because it's everywhere. Every shop is able to sell it without, they get a license and then they can sell it much more. You buy your bus the same shop, alcohol is being sold.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's in our communities, literally. We cannot move away from it.
No, I think you're right.
And also, how do they monitor who's buying alcohol? Any young adult could be given £10 and buy young teenagers alcohol. How are we able to, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes I hear like, oh, the answer is to ban alcohol, but then like, you know, like you have examples of like the prohibition, for example, in America, they tried to ban alcohol and they actually banned it, and then like people started drinking more, and so yeah, I think you're right that it's kind of pragmatic measures that are
just like
effective.
I think it was wrong to ban marijuana. I think they should legalize it.
Yeah.
You know, adults have the right to make informed choices of what they do. If adults decide,
Heroin?
Yeah.
Heroin as well?
It's, again, you cannot put heroin. I understand this. Cannabis and heroin, these are completely different substances.
Okay.
But again, with the issue of consent comes to me. If adults want to choose to use heroin, that's a complete issue. But for me, cannabis, you will never hear anybody dying of cannabis overdose, but you will hear that with heroin.
Yeah.
You know, so they're completely two different, you know, even though adults can make their choices. But these are two different substances. One can die from consuming heroin. So how are we going to monitor? If we had given the adults, you know, the choice to exercise that inherent right of
Sarah,
choice,
Abutala, 5 minutes
choice,
out.
how would we
Come
be
to the
able
park
to
if you want to do
monitor?
something about it.
How would we be able to monitor those adults so they don't over? How we can monitor that? So it's impossible. That's the only alternative for that will be, rather than have high cases of overdose or whatever, we have to legalize it. But marijuana is a completely different substance. It's like tobacco.
So do you think like maybe you'd need to kind of pass an exam in order to be allowed to use heroin to prove that you're responsible
Why are we not
enough?
banning tobacco? How many people are dying annually of smoking tobacco?
Yeah.
You know? It's hypocritical to allow one actually, which society you see evidence of actually destructive harm it's causing, but at the same time you are making it illegal because you want to control the selling of the substance, but you don't want the average young man, the quality to sell it. It's not an issue. I find it.
Okay. Wait, so you said that it's hypocritical to have like one law apply for one thing, but like not another thing. So here's the question: like, if you see a law that's unfair, yes, or no, you see a law that you disagree with, okay, and you also see that this bad law is being applied to one group of people, but not another group of people in a kind of discriminatory way, okay? When that happens, do you think, oh, it's good that this bad law is not being applied, like I'm going to encourage it? Or would you kind of say, while we have this bad law, it needs to be applied equally? So you'd actually start encouraging, no, we need more of this law so that it's applied equally.
We feel it and then we enact it.
Okay.
That law, if it's, first of all, it's not protecting all, it has to be repealed and reenacted.
Okay.
To protect all, because it's discriminatory, unfair, or unjust.
Okay.
This is how I see legislation. Like, for example, in regards to genital autonomy of children, I think it's unfair, unjust, and discriminatory, because not only does it not protect all children against unnecessary genital alteration, it also infantilizes other racialized women. So other women, in essence, are being treated of certain background. They're being treated as though their consent is the same as that of the child. So the same. This is the same sort of conversation we have. If the law is unjust and targeting certain groups or certain ethnies, we should be able to say, you know what, this is unjust law. Let's have it
get another 5
repealed
minutes again.
and reenact it so it
Your mark,
serves
boy.
the public.
Your mark.
Okay, but until the law, let's say you're trying to repeal the law, okay? So you're campaigning to repeal the law, but you need to kind of pass this. You need to first submit a kind of thing to Parliament, and so there's a process to repeal the law, and it takes 6 months, okay? So during those 6 months, are you going to say, I want this law to be applied equally to everyone, or are you going to kind of be like, oh, it's good that this law isn't being used in some cases? Well, no, I'm just wondering, this is something that I've thought about legal systems before. I've wondered, like, should...
The law isn't us. The law isn't at us. We know this.
Okay.
You know, there are a lot of legislators who, at times, you know, they come up with these old policies. You know, you're thinking they must have been high on coke or something.
Yeah, you're probably still on the camera. Yeah,
Come take over everything from your melanin.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Every time I ask man to explain what he means,
We explain it.
it's always that black person
Because we are the first. Like people are 6,000 years old. We are millions. Stop it, man.
Listen to what I'm saying.
We are the
Stop
first.
saying we are the
We
first.
are the first.
What does that mean? What's the significance of that
everyone came
statement?
after us.
What's
Now
the significance of that statement?
Now
Okay,
what?
did that generate you wealth?
No,
Did you generate wealth?
No, I get it. I get it. Hold on. I get it.